What's up, comic and pop culture fans? This is James with Minhunter Comics, and today I'm going to give you the most submitted comic books starting with 1938 through to today. This video did take quite some research, so if you wouldn't mind, please hit that like button, comment down below, and subscribe. We do videos like this at least twice a week. 1938, and yes, I know there were comic books prior to 1938, but I'm doing it because we're going to start it with the superhero craze, with Superman. Fittingly, the most submitted book in 1938 is Action Comics #1. In 1939, the #1 book was Superman #2, with 324 entries. From 1940, Superman #4 is the winner. 341 submissions go to Batman issue 6 from 1941. For 1942, you have 319 entries with Batman 11. With 1943, 308 entries to Batman 18. 1944, wartime, we got 370 entries for Batman 23. It's funny how the first half of this list is very DC, and then it very quickly becomes all Marvel. 1945 goes to 280 entries for a Batman 27. 1946, with 298 copies sent in, Batman 37. For 1947, 345 makes Batman 40 the most submitted book. Most submitted book for 1948, with 369 entries, is Superman 53. 1949, most submitted book, 274 total. To date, goes to Superboy #1. 1950, with 261 entries, Batman 59. It's actually the first appearance of Deadshot. 1951 is going to belong to Superman again. Seeing a trend here. 1952, Mad #1. Before it was Mad Magazine, it was Mad, a comic book. 654 entries. 1953, Playboy, Volume 1, #1, with 391 on the census count, most of that year. 1954, 971 submissions so far for Sports Illustrated #1. 1955, most submitted book, 377 entries for Superman 100. 1956, 620 is the winner for Showcase 4, first Barry Allen. 1957, 360 total for Showcase 8, second appearance of Barry Allen. 1958, you got 845 copies of Superboy 68, first Bizarro. Next, you got 1959 with 1,467 copies for Showcase 22, first Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, and Carol Ferris. Also, that's the first time we've broken over the $1,000 mark. 1,793 for Justice League of America #1, and this is the last time you will see DC for about 30 years take the #1 spot. 1961, you could have guessed this one. 3,061 copies makes Fantastic Four the most submitted book from 61. Most submitted book from 62 with 3,989 copies. First Spider-Man, of course. 1963 with 6,586. X-Men 1. 1964 with 6,726 goes to our first appearance of Daredevil. 1965, 4,201 copies. Just a reminder of how much more of a big deal Inhumans is to comic fans. We have Fantastic Four, 45. 1966, you know this one. First time we get into the five figures, 10,220 submitted copies in any grade of the first Galactus and Silver Surfer. 1967 with 8,117 goes to Amazing Spider-Man 50, first Kingpin. 1968, 9,151 copies cent makes Iron Man the winner for the year. 1969 most popular book with 5,832 submissions, Silver Surfer, number 4. 1970, 6,750 submissions for Conan the Barbarian. 1971, 6,990 makes the first Morbius the most popular book of the year. 1972, 6,564 goes to Marvel Spotlight, number 5. 1973, Amazing Spider-Man 121 with 8,448. 1974, can you guess? 18,681 entries. Hulk 181, our first Wolverine there. 1975, with 14,216 submitted copies, we have Giant Size X-Men 1. This is the first entry that surprised me. With 10,146, Eternals number 1 is the winner for 1976. 1977, I knew this one, 18,553 to Star Wars number 1. The rest of this list I thought was fairly predictable, but there's a couple weird ones. Spider-Woman number 1 for 1978 with 9,909. For 1979, you got 12,768. Back into the 5 figures here for Amazing Spider-Man 194, first Black Cat. 1980, the winner at 15,392 sent in goes to our Savage She-Hulk, number 1, first She-Hulk. 1981, 11,631 goes to Avengers Annual 10, first Rogue. 1982, this is, I believe, no, this is the second or third highest you'll see on the entire list. 30,536 copies makes Wolverine the Limited Series the winner for 1982. 1983, 13,048 copies goes to our first Hobgoblin. 1984, I believe this is second place. 32,800 goes to Secret Wars 8. 1985, 11,249 first Vulturion's beautiful painted cover for a Web of Spider-Man number 1. The winner for 1986 with nearly 9,000 goes to X Factor number 6, first Apocalypse. 1987 with 10,183 goes to X-Men 221, first Mr. Sinister. 1988 with 38,148 copies, which makes it the most submitted book of all time, first appearance of Venom, or first full appearance of Venom, ASM 300. The winner of 1989 with 12,503 votes is Venom Continued. Second full and first full cover of Venom, ASM 316. 26,575 entries for 1990 makes the first Gambit full appearance the winner. 1991 with 30,862 copies makes our first Deadpool the winner. 1992 with our first non-Marvel spot since the early 60s with 35,315 copies sent in, Spawn number 1. For 1993, you got another big one here, 24,255 for Lethal Protector number 1. 1994, 3,662 copies for Wolverine 88, the first meeting of Deadpool and Wolverine. 1995, I have an asterisk here. This is another one that surprised me. 3,549 makes Preacher number 1, the most submitted book from 95. 1996 with 1,049 goes to X-Men 53. There's a couple years with not a lot of big keys popping up, so you see a huge decline in submissions. This is a big one. 4,236 copies for 1997 makes our first appearance of the Thunderbolts the winner. 1998, our winner is going to be our first Spider-Girl with What If 105, 1,915 existing. 1999, with 3,767 copies, it is our first DC #1 spot since 1960. Batman Harley Quinn, #1, the first canon Harley Quinn in comics. 2000, with 3,905 copies, makes 2000 the year of Ultimate Spider-Man #1. 2001, with 8,357 copies, we have Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, 36. 2002, with 3,739 copies. I love that this is Batman 608, and the only reason is just because it was such a good story. 2003, 3,752 existing copies makes The Walking Dead #1, the biggest book of that year. For 2004, with 7,134 copies, NYX #3, first Laura Kinney. 2005, with 6,082 copies, belongs to Young Avengers #1. 2006, with 3,076 copies, you get your first cameo of Damian Wayne, Batman 655. I put a fun note here. The Boys #1 was actually second place for 2006. That's cool. 2007, with 2,132 copies, you have The Death of Captain America. You got to remember how big of a deal that was in 2007. 2008, 5,040 copies to Hulk #1, first Red Hulk. 2009 is going to get 3,129 copies to just a classic cover. This is not a key other than a classic cover. This is the weirdest entry on the whole list, and if you guys understand this, can you let me know in the comments down below? The most submitted book to grading companies for 2010 with 2,629 is X-Men #1, the sketch cover. Was there just nothing else going on in 2010? I don't know. That's very strange to me. Unless I'm forgetting a piece of comic history, you gotta let me know. 2011, you guessed this one, 19,126 copies. Our first Miles Morales, obviously. 2012 belongs to Saga #1, nearly 6,000 sent in. 2013, with 4,945, goes to Amazing Spider-Man 700. Now this just beats out Edge of Spider-Verse 2. 2014, we're back to five figures here. 10,424 copies for Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 4, our first appearance of Silk. Now, if that doesn't show you that Silk is popular, I don't know what does. For 2015, to date, 8,537 copies have been sent in of our first Dr. Aphra, the first Star Wars-related #1 spot since 1977. 2016, with 3,650, makes Iron Man 9 the biggest book of that year. To date, there have been 3,416 copies sent in of 2017's Teen Titans 12, first Batman Who Laughs. 2018, with 7,680 copies, Venom 3, the first appearance of Null. I can't believe that was that long ago. I feel like that was last week. 2019, with 5,298 sent in total, War of the Realms, New Agents of Atlas. This thing is littered with keys. 2020, with 6,632 copies, we have The Last Ronin #1. Fun story about that. My local comic book shop actually had like 50 of this thing long after the aftermarket was starting to go crazy, and he still had them at cover price. And I remember thinking, $8.99 I think they were. I was like, that's too much money, I'm not going to do it. Aren't those things like hundreds of dollars now? Should have grabbed them all. Oh well. 2021, Amazing Spider-Man 55, another now iconic cover. Damn near 5,000 copies sent in, makes that awesome Gleason cover the winner of the year. 2022, 2,343 copies. This is a weird one. Star Wars Darth Vader #20 the Mandalorian variant, which makes it the first cover appearance of Mando and Grogu. Wow. 2023 makes the spoiler variant of Spider-Man 7, which is our first appearance of Spider-Boy, the winner at 6,531 total. Wow. And then for 2024, so far there have been 1,771 of Ultimate Spider-Man sent in. And 2025 isn't over, but I think we all know what is going to be the most sent in book. I've got my money on Absolute Batman #1. I'd be pretty surprised if anything is going to beat that for 2025. Very fun, but very exhausting list. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, keep on hunting. I'll see you at the next video. Make sure to come on down to Sentiment Depot's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 238 West Delaware Ave in Pennington, New Jersey. Find so many great books for just $1 and the lowest prices on key comics around. Enjoy a huge selection of graded comics priced up to 20% lower than current fair market value. We are open from Wednesday to Sunday, closed Monday, Tuesday. You got a collection you want to sell? Bring that too. Can't wait to see you there.